Well, Gruff, that was pretty fast and frantic out there. Where did it slip away from you, do you think?
Fast and frantic, but loose at times. And obviously, I think Ulster have capitalised really well in terms of the game they played. You look at the possession, territory stats, especially around some of the 22 pressure, and compare them where we've been chasing the game a little bit, and the flow of the game dictates you're going to be loose around some transition work. But it's probably endemic of our season really in terms of how we've shown a lot of bright moments in what we're trying to do. But ultimately we don't catch the game. Look at first half. Ulster, we lose 2 line-outs off the next 2 scrum attacks. Ulster capitalise straight away, and then on the stroke of half-time we gift another one. 24-14, we're putting the pressure on. There's a couple of little things don't go away in terms of the attacking third. They go the other end and go 31. That's smart rugby in terms of how they've absorbed pressure and then come back at us and expose a vulnerable defence. But it's our frailties and failings again, which reflect the season.
Was that always going to be a risk, given the way that you had to approach the game, really, and Ulster could afford to shut up shop effectively in the second half when they wanted to?
Yeah, it was. Speaking to Alan, their forwards coach, they did feel that when it loosened up, and normally Ulster like a game that loosens up, that was something that we may have some advantages within. But they knew, and we've referred to it again at half time, they needed to play a more of a controlled game, and prey on certain mistakes where we were chasing. That doesn't excuse what we didn't do well. It was just understanding the dynamics of the situation. And I think you could take this game in isolation as us chasing 5 points and making mistakes. But I think it does highlight a lot of deficiencies in our game this year, and where we've got to connect the dots in how we play the game. Yes, we can play positively, but it's no good without any sort of foundation to what we're trying to do.
Was the case of the absences cost you more heavily than usual this season, both because of the World Cup and because you've lost a lot of high-profile players to injury?
To a certain degree, I don't want to sit here and make those sort of excuses. I'd rather look at rugby reasons why we've been deficient, and I probably look at the last couple of years. I think last season we overplayed some of our bigger players. This year they've underplayed, and there's a clear correlation in where we come top 4 and where we've been chasing a bit this year. But again, it's around building the depth of the squad, and we've got to try and be positive about who's coming through a squad that is really young, and the average age we've harped on about, but it's about growing up as well. And I think regardless of us chasing the season from early season's failings, we weren't good enough across 22 games, and that's regardless of who was on the field or not.
European Challenge Cup next season, I mean, there are 1 or 2 minnows in it, but there's some pretty decent English and French sides at times as well. How seriously do you think you might treat it?
For a competition such as that, I think we've got to have the mindset, in both competitions we play, to go and win it. And I think it is a massive hit to take. I'm not going to lie around that, but we've got to try and use this year, this summer, and how we manage a whole squad. I've just referred to how the last couple of years have panned out in terms of usage of players, and perhaps next year can help us take stock around trusting players to come through in certain competitions, certain times, and not having to rely on the big hitters, manage them more effectively around a Lions year. I think there's 5 or 6 of our players. We've got to help try and the international support to get them to that, but also around our ambition. But we've got to look at a year that we can do that. As long as we're not sat in the same situation results-wise next year, we're under no illusion. We've got to improve as a whole. We're reviewing all aspects of what we're doing. Come back, as I said, with a better rugby product.
You say it's a hit to be in the Challenge Cup. Is that in terms of finances, or in terms of crowds you attract, or in terms of attracting players maybe for the future?
It could be, especially in terms of crowds perhaps. I don't think the finances, if it's 1 year, alter dramatically. I don't know the ins and outs of that. In terms of rugby, the perception of it may hit certain things, but as I said, it's something we've got to look to our advantage. And I think if doing it for 1 year, I've seen Aviva sides who've done it and used it to their advantage. Harlequins on a couple of occasions have gone there, regrouped and gone back to win titles. I think if it's 3-4 years in a row, well, we wouldn't be sat here, but obviously you can't sustain things as they are around that. But I think if it's 1 year and we actually put ourselves into something with the right positive attitude, we can come back and manage a league programme better than we've done this year also.
Gruff, how do you assess the season generally?
That's hugely disappointing. As I said, we had higher aspirations, having missed out on a final with the last play of the game last year. We went into summer in good heart. We knew it was probably going to be one of our difficult and hardest years to manage the calendar and the playing group we had, but in hindsight there's failings last summer around what we did and took into early season form, and we've scratched around since. I think we put a good run together in Europe. We showed where we could be, competitive, and a decent run around the league game, but constantly playing catch up. And you were feeling that, constant feeling of worry around things when actually you've got to flourish and try and enjoy certain aspects of your rugby. And we've done that since February, I think. But as I've just said with some of my questions to Nick, I don't think we've connected the dots in our game. For all the positive I'd like to see around our attacking game, some of our structures, our threats, we're right up there in terms of the top of the league, in terms of defenders beaten, line breaks and so forth, how many threats we've got on the park and how we've developed that aspect of the game. It's redundant without other parts of our game coming up to speed with that as well.
You've got a lot of young players. How do you see next season going?
I'm really positive about it. They're not just token words, but I think we come out fighting 2 summers ago. We had lots of senior players moved on, and we wanted to prove a point to the world. And the young group who came in then, were exposed and really stood up to the challenge. We've got to ask ourselves, and we're doing this around what we're reviewing. We obviously regressed. We've got to highlight every individual player within it in terms of their development. Have they kicked on? Is there more they could do? But clearly we underpin that as coaches. What are we doing as a group, and how we can improve collectively and try and support the group in a better way.
Gruff, today, what happened at the breakdown? You must have conceded 10 to 12 contact turnovers.
Yeah, again, you have these reference points going into game where they're good around that breakdown. The choke frustrates me because that's obviously a focus point when you play the Irish sides. Some of those were, just aspects where we were alert, but going up as one-up runners sometimes. The ball's there to be played. The ball receivers alive to opportunities, but around him we're just a fraction slow. And against some of these guys, that's not good enough. But I think it was also just shows how loose we are as a side. We're probably looking all and everywhere for space on the field, trying to be quick on everything. But you've also got to have speed plus controlling what you do, and we perhaps didn't have that balance today that they did.